First contact. Captain Lyra Voss stood at the observation deck of the galactic science vessel Starseeker, her four-fingered hand pressed against the transparent alloy as she watched the distant stars. The vast emptiness of unexplored space stretched before her. But something felt different today. After 15 years of leading deep space research missions, she had developed an instinct for discovery. The ship's quantum sensors had picked up an anomaly 3 days ago, a pattern hidden in the background radiation of space that shouldn't exist. Most of her colleagues had dismissed it as routine space noise, but Lyra knew better. In all her years studying the cosmos, she had never seen anything quite like it. "Captain," senior researcher Nexel's voice came through the ship's communication system, interrupting her thoughts. "You need to see this." Lyra's bioluminescent markings pulsed with anticipation as she made her way to the research lab. The Starseeker was the pride of the Galactic Science Federation's research fleet, equipped with the most advanced sensors and staffed by the brightest minds from a dozen different species. But what they had discovered in the past few hours challenged everything they thought they knew about the universe. The research lab was a circular chamber filled with holographic displays and quantum computers. Nexel, his crystalline form shimmering under the lab's lights, manipulated a three-dimensional projection of the signal pattern. "We've decoded another layer," he said, his voice resonating with excitement. "The pattern. It's not random noise. It's mathematics. Pure, complex mathematics unlike anything in our databases." Lyra studied the projection, her inner eyelids narrowing as she focused on the intricate patterns. "Show me the comparison with known civilizations." Nexel brought up another display, this one showing mathematical signatures from every known spacefaring race in the galaxy. None matched the complexity or elegance of the pattern they had discovered. "That's not all," Nexel continued, his crystalline structure pulsing with barely contained excitement. "We found this embedded in the signal." A new projection appeared, showing a series of prime numbers arranged in a perfect spiral. But unlike any natural or known artificial sequence, this one contained solutions to mathematical problems that the Galactic Science Federation had deemed unsolvable. "This is impossible," Lyra whispered, but her scientific mind was already racing with possibilities. "These equations, they're not just solutions. They're improvements on our fundamental understanding of quantum mechanics." "Exactly," Nexel agreed. "Whatever sent this signal isn't just intelligent. They're far beyond our current level of scientific advancement." Lyra's markings pulsed with a mix of excitement and concern. The implications were staggering. Either they had discovered a completely unknown civilization with technology far superior to anything in the known galaxy, or, "We need to report this to the Council," she decided, though something in her gut told her they wouldn't like what she had to say. The Galactic Council's response came faster than expected, and it was exactly what Lyra had feared. The holographic form of Council Member Zhen, a being of pure energy contained within an ancient technological shell, flickered before them in the ship's communication chamber. "Your findings have been reviewed, Captain Voss." Zhen's voice resonated with the artificial calm typical of the Council. "While we appreciate your thorough analysis, we must conclude that this signal is merely an echo of cosmic background radiation, perhaps distorted by an unknown natural phenomenon." Lyra felt her markings pulse with frustration. "Council member, with all due respect, the mathematical complexity of this signal cannot be explained by natural phenomena. The equations we've discovered are interesting anomalies." Zhen interrupted, "but nothing more. The Council reminds you that all advanced civilizations in our galaxy are well documented. There cannot be a species capable of this level of mathematics without our knowledge." "Unless," Lyra pressed, "our knowledge is incomplete." The Council member's energy form flickered, a sign of disapproval. "Captain Voss, your record of service is exemplary, but you are allowing enthusiasm to cloud your judgment. Return to your scheduled survey route. This matter is closed." The hologram disappeared, leaving Lyra alone with her thoughts and the weight of discovery pressing against her consciousness. She returned to the research lab. where Nexel and the rest of her science team waited expectantly. "The Council has dismissed our findings," she announced, watching their expressions fall. "They believe it's just background radiation." "But the mathematics," Nexel began. "I know," Lyra cut him off, her decision already forming. "Pull up the signal analysis again. All of it." As the holographic displays came to life around them, Lyra studied the patterns with renewed intensity. Something about them tugged at her memory, an old legend she had once read in the restricted archives of the Science Federation's historical database. "Computer," she commanded, "access historical records, keyword search, advanced mathematics, pre-Federation era." The computer hummed, displaying centuries of mathematical development across dozens of civilizations. Lyra scrolled through the data until she found what she was looking for. A small notation about a civilization that had supposedly achieved quantum supremacy before disappearing from the galaxy entirely. There, she pointed to the entry. 3,000 years ago, there were rumors of a species that had developed mathematics beyond our understanding. They were called humans, Nexel read, his crystalline form dimming slightly. But according to official records, they were wiped out in the Great Collapse. Lyra's markings pulsed with excitement. What if they weren't? What if they simply disappeared, chose to hide? The implications were enormous. If humans had survived and continued to develop in secret for 3,000 years, their technological advancement would be beyond anything the current galactic civilization could imagine. "Captain," Nexel's voice carried a note of warning. "Pursuing this line of investigation against Council orders would be the most important scientific discovery of our era." Lyra finished. She looked around at her team, seeing the same mixture of fear and excitement in their various alien features. "The Council is wrong. This signal is not natural, and we're going to prove it." She turned to the ship's main console, her decision made. "Plot a new course. We're going to find the source of that signal." As the Starseeker adjusted its trajectory, Lyra felt the familiar thrill of discovery, but this time mixed with something else, the sensation that she was about to uncover a truth that would change the galaxy forever. Somewhere out there, hidden in the vast emptiness of space, was a civilization that had chosen to vanish from history, and she was going to find them. The signal pulsed again on their sensors, stronger now, like a beacon calling them forward into the unknown. Lyra watched as new mathematical patterns emerged on their screens, each more complex than the last. Whatever they were about to discover, she knew there would be no turning back. The journey to unlock humanity's secret had begun. The edge of known space. The Starseeker dropped out of quantum space at the edge of an uncharted sector, its sensors immediately beginning to map the surrounding region. Captain Lyra Voss studied the readings with growing amazement. They had been following the mysterious signal for 3 weeks, defying Council orders and pushing deeper into unexplored territory. "This can't be right," Nexel said, his crystalline form casting prismatic light across the bridge as he analyzed the sensor data. "According to our readings, there's nothing here." Lyra's bioluminescent markings pulsed with concentration. Exactly. No cosmic background radiation. No quantum fluctuations, not even the usual space debris. It's too perfect. She had seen enough anomalies in her career to recognize artificial containment when she saw it. This wasn't empty space. It was carefully sanitized space. The question was, who had the technology to clear an entire sector of all trace particles? "Captain," called out Navigator Kez, her tentacles rippling with nervous energy. "The signal's getting stronger, but I can't pinpoint its source. It's like it's coming from everywhere and nowhere at once." Lyra moved to the navigation console, studying the contradictory readings. After 3 weeks of chasing this mystery, they were finally closing in on something big. Her career might be over when they returned, but scientific curiosity had always been stronger than her sense of self-preservation. "Run a full spectrum analysis," she ordered. "If someone's hiding something out here, they're using technology we haven't seen before." The ship's quantum computers hummed as they processed the scan. Suddenly, Every screen on the bridge flickered simultaneously. Strange symbols cascaded across the displays. Not random noise, but a structured language unlike anything in their linguistic database. "It's a response," Nexel whispered, his crystalline body vibrating with excitement. "They know we're here." Before Lyra could respond, a new set of equations appeared on the main viewer. These weren't like the mathematical patterns they'd been following. These were instructions. "They're showing us how to adjust our sensors," Lyra realized, her markings pulsing rapidly. "Kez, implement these modifications. Let's see what they want us to find." As the navigator input the new parameters, the seemingly empty space before them began to change. Like a curtain being drawn back, the void rippled and transformed. A massive stellar system materialized before their eyes, hidden behind what could only be described as a quantum veil. "By the first stars," Nexel breathed. An entire system, completely cloaked from normal spacetime. The system was unlike anything in known space. 7 planets orbited a carefully managed star, but it was the artificial structures that caught Lyra's attention. Massive orbital rings circled each planet, connected by what appeared to be lanes of pure energy. Space stations larger than small moons hung in perfect geometric patterns, their designs both elegant and alien. "Multiple objects approaching," Kez reported, her tentacles twisting with tension. They're fast. Faster than anything in our database." Sleek vessels emerged from the hidden system, their hulls seeming to bend light around them. They moved with impossible precision, surrounding the Starseeker in a perfect formation within seconds. "No energy readings," Nexel reported, his voice filled with scientific awe. "No visible propulsion systems. No quantum signatures. They're breaking half a dozen laws of physics just by existing." A new message appeared on their screens, this time in clear galactic standard. "You have entered restricted space. State your purpose." Lyra took a deep breath, her markings glowing with a mix of excitement and apprehension. This was the moment that would either make history or end their careers, possibly their lives. "This is Captain Lyra Voss of the Galactic Science Vessel Starseeker. We followed your mathematical signal. We're here to learn." There was a long pause, during which Lyra could feel her crew's anxiety mixing with her own. The surrounding ships remained perfectly still, their impossible technology making a mockery of everything she thought she knew about physics. Finally, a new message appeared. "Mathematical curiosity noted. Genetic analysis complete. No known hostile intent detected. Preparing for contact." The space around them seemed to fold, and suddenly they were somewhere else, a vast docking structure that hadn't been visible moments before. Their ship hung suspended in a cradle of pure energy, surrounded by technology that made their most advanced systems look primitive. "Captain," Nexel said quietly, "I'm detecting atmospheric conditions being adjusted to match our biology. They're accommodating us." A final message scrolled across their screens. "Welcome to Haven, Captain Voss. Humanity has been expecting you." The revelation hit Lyra like a physical force. The legends were true. Humanity hadn't been destroyed. They had ascended, advancing beyond anything the galaxy could have imagined. And now, for some reason, they had chosen to reveal themselves. "All crew, maintain positions," Lyra ordered, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. "We're about to make history." A new set of doors was opening in the docking structure before them, revealing a brightly lit chamber beyond. As Lyra watched, a figure emerged, unmistakably human, walking through space without any visible protection. They moved with a grace that suggested complete mastery over their environment. They'd been watching us, Nexel realized. All this time, they'd been watching the galaxy evolve, advance, spread across the stars. Why reveal themselves now? Lyra's markings pulsed with understanding. Because they chose us. The mathematical signal, the equations, it was a test. And somehow, we passed. The human figure raised a hand in greeting, and Lyra felt a gentle presence touch her mind. Not invasive, but welcoming. In that moment, She understood that their journey hadn't just led them to a hidden civilization. It had led them to the next chapter in galactic history. The true first contact was about to begin. The hidden truth. Inside Haven's central diplomatic chamber, Captain Lyra Voss found herself surrounded by impossibilities. The room itself seemed to shift and flow, its architecture responding to the thoughts and movements of its occupants. Hovering displays showed real-time views of distant galaxies with clarity that made her ship's best sensors look primitive by comparison. The human who had introduced himself as Director Thomas Chen sat across from her, his calm demeanor belying the revolutionary implications of their meeting. Unlike the humans of ancient records, he appeared almost luminescent, his skin containing what appeared to be bioengineered photoreceptors that shifted with his emotions. "You're wondering why we disappeared," Thomas said, not as a question, but as a statement of fact. "Why we chose to let the galaxy believe we had been destroyed." Lyra's markings pulsed with agreement. Behind her, Nexel and Kez remained silent but equally attentive. The truth about humanity's fate had been one of the galaxy's greatest mysteries for millennia. "The official records speak of a devastating war," Lyra said carefully. "The great collapse that supposedly wiped out human civilization." Thomas smiled, and for a moment, the air around him shimmed with quantum patterns. The war was real. The destruction was real. But our extinction was perhaps the greatest deception ever perpetrated in galactic history. He gestured, and the chamber filled with holographic images of ancient battles. Lyra watched in awe as massive fleets clashed across star systems, using weapons that defied known physics. 3,000 years ago, humanity faced a choice, Thomas continued. We had developed technology that the galaxy wasn't ready for, capabilities that could have destabilized the very fabric of civilization. The Galactic Council of that era gave us an ultimatum: surrender our advances or face extinction. But you chose a third option, Nexel interjected, his crystalline form vibrating with sudden understanding. Precisely. Thomas waved his hand, and the battle scenes transformed into images of massive ships disappearing into what appeared to be artificial quantum rifts. We staged our own destruction while simultaneously moving our entire civilization into isolated space. We used early versions of the quantum veil technology you encounter to hide entire star systems. Lyra's scientific mind raced with the implications. You've been here all along, advancing in secret. Not just advancing, Thomas corrected. Preparing. What we discovered 3,000 years ago wasn't just about technological progress. We found something that changed our understanding of the universe and our responsibility to it. Before he could elaborate, a subtle vibration passed through the chamber. Thomas's expression shifted, and new displays materialized showing multiple ships dropping out of quantum space at the sector's edge. "It appears we have company," he said, his tone growing serious. "The Galactic Council's Rapid Response Fleet. They must have tracked your ship." Lyra felt her heart sink. "I violated direct orders to come here. They'll view this as an act of insubordination. They'll view it as much more than that," Thomas said grimly. "Your discovery of Haven represents the exposure of a truth they've worked millennia to suppress. The Council has always known we survived. They've been searching for us ever since." More displays appeared, showing additional ships emerging from quantum space. These vessels bore markings Lyra didn't recognize, designs that predated modern galactic civilization. "The Precursor Collective," Thomas explained, noting her confusion. "Another force that has waited centuries for humanity to resurface. They believe we hold keys to technologies they lost eons ago. They're not entirely wrong." Lyra watched as the competing fleets took up tactical positions around the sector. "Why show yourselves now? Why allow us to find you after all this time?" Thomas's bioluminescence pulsed with what appeared to be concern. "Because what we've been preparing for is finally approaching. The real reason we went into hiding wasn't just about political pressure or technological superiority. We discovered something coming from intergalactic space, something that had already destroyed countless civilizations in other galaxies. The chamber darkened as he projected a new image, a massive void between galaxies, seemingly empty but somehow wrong. Lyra's scientific instincts screamed that she was looking at something that shouldn't exist. "We called it the entropy wave," Thomas said softly. "A phenomenon that doesn't just destroy civilizations. It erases the very laws of physics that make life possible. We've spent 3,000 years developing ways to fight it, to preserve not just our species, but all life in the galaxy. And now it's arriving," Nexel whispered, his crystalline form dimming with comprehension. "Yes, the first tendrils of the wave will reach our galaxy within a decade. We needed to reveal ourselves now, to begin preparing the galaxy for what's coming. Your discovery of our signal wasn't an accident, Captain Voss. We've been watching you, testing various species and individuals, looking for those who could help us unite the galaxy against what's coming." A new alarm sounded, and the displays showed both the Council fleet and the precursor ships powering up weapon systems. They had detected each other, and neither force seemed interested in diplomacy. "It seems," Thomas said with a hint of irony, "that our first challenge will be preventing an interstellar war before we can focus on saving the galaxy." He turned to Lyra, his expression serious. "You found us because you followed scientific curiosity rather than political orders. Now we need your help to convince both sides to do the same." Lyra looked at her crew, seeing the same mix of fear and determination in their faces that she felt. They had come seeking scientific discovery, and found themselves at the center of a conflict that could determine the fate of all life in the galaxy. "What do you need us to do?" she asked, her markings pulsing with resolve. Thomas smiled, and for a moment, Lyra saw the weight of 3,000 years of preparation in his eyes. "Help us show them the truth, all of it, before it's too late." Outside Haven's quantum veil, the opposing fleets continued their approach, unaware that they were about to become part of a much larger story, one that had been waiting 3 millennia to be told. The choice. The Situation Room within Haven hummed with tension as multiple holographic displays showed the approaching fleets. Captain Lyra Voss watched as both the Galactic Council's ships and the precursor vessels moved into attack formations, each trying to claim the sector first. The scale of potential conflict was staggering. Enough firepower to reduce entire star systems to cosmic dust. "We have 18 minutes before they're in weapons range of each other," Thomas said, his bioluminescent patterns shifting to deeper hues. "The Council believes they're here to prevent the precursors from claiming ancient technology. The precursors think they're protecting their heritage. Neither side understands they're about to start a war that will doom the entire galaxy." Lyra studied the tactical displays, her scientific mind racing. "Can't you just show them the evidence of the entropy wave? Surely they'll understand the greater threat." "Fear and pride are universal constants," Thomas replied, manipulating the holographic controls. New images appeared, simulations showing the wave's approach. "We've spent 3,000 years preparing for this moment, but we need the galaxy united, not fractured by old rivalries." The chamber filled with urgent signals as both fleets began broadcasting demands and threats. The Council ordered immediate surrender and withdrawal. The precursors proclaimed their right to reclaim their lost legacy. Neither side seemed interested in diplomacy. "What about your technology?" Nexel asked, his crystalline form refracting the holographic light. "Surely you could stop them both." "We could," Thomas acknowledged, and for a moment Lyra saw something ancient and terrible in his engineered eyes. "But forced peace never lasts. We need willing allies, not subjugated servants." A new alert sounded. Weapons were being charged on both sides. The first shots would be fired in less than 10 minutes. "Show me your quantum communications array," Lyra said suddenly, her markings pulsing with inspiration. "You can reach both fleets simultaneously." Thomas nodded, gesturing at a neural interface panel. "What are you thinking, Captain?" "The truth," she said, moving to the panel. "But not just about the wave. About everything. They need to understand what humanity actually is, what you've become. She placed her hand on the interface and immediately felt the vast network of Haven's communication systems open to her. It was like touching the thoughts of a god, but she forced herself to focus. This is Captain Lyra Voss of the Starseeker. She broadcast to both fleets. I am transmitting from within Haven, the hidden home of humanity. What you're about to see is the truth that both sides have been seeking. With Thomas's help, she began transmitting data, not just about the entropy wave, but about humanity's 3,000 years of development. She showed them the quantum veils that hid entire civilizations, the bioengineering that had transformed humans into beings of near-infinite potential, the mathematical proofs that rewrote the laws of physics. Humanity didn't flee in fear, she continued, her voice carrying the weight of scientific certainty. They withdrew to protect us all. The technology you're fighting over, it's not a weapon or a tool of power. It's the key to survival itself. The tactical displays showed both fleets slowing their approach as the data streamed to their ships. Then came the responses, confusion, disbelief, and finally, the first glimmers of understanding. 3,000 years ago, humanity faced the same choice we face now. Lyra pressed, fight each other over the scraps of power, or unite against a threat that will destroy us all. They chose to prepare, to advance, to become something greater than their conflicts. Now we must do the same. New signals appeared, demands for verification, requests for proof. But they weren't firing. Not yet. Thomas stepped forward, his bioluminescence now bright enough to fill the chamber. Perhaps a demonstration is in order, he said, and with a gesture, the quantum veil protecting Haven began to shift. The assembled fleets watched in awe as the hidden system revealed itself fully for the first time. Massive structures that defied known physics became visible. Artificial stars burned with impossible precision. And at the heart of it all, a device larger than a gas giant pulsed with energy that made both fleets' sensors overload. This, Thomas announced, is the Nexus, the culmination of 3,000 years of human advancement, the only weapon ever created that might stop the entropy wave. But it requires the combined resources and knowledge of every spacefaring race to complete. Lyra felt a shift in the quantum communications. The intense hostility from both fleets was being replaced by something else. Wonder, fear, and perhaps hope. The Council has been protecting the galaxy from what they thought was a dangerous truth, she said. The precursors have been searching for knowledge they believed was their right. But the real truth is simpler. We need each other. All of us. She looked at Thomas, seeing approval in his engineered features. Humanity didn't disappear because they were afraid of sharing their power. They withdrew because they saw a future where the galaxy would need to be united. They've spent 3,000 years becoming something new, not to rule us, but to guide us. The displays showed the weapons on both fleets powering down. New communications were flooding in, requests for dialogue, offers of cooperation. The crisis wasn't over, but the first step had been taken. You've done well, Captain, Thomas said quietly. But this is just the beginning. Now comes the hard part, getting them to work together. Lyra asked. No, he replied, his expression growing grave. Showing them what we're really up against. The entropy wave isn't just coming, it's accelerating. We have less time than we thought. Outside Haven, the once hostile fleets began to reorganize, preparing for their first joint briefing. The galaxy was about to change forever, and Lyra had helped set that change in motion. She only hoped they would have enough time to finish what humanity had started. A new dawn. The great assembly chamber of Haven buzzed with an energy Lyra had never experienced before. Representatives from both the Galactic Council and the Precursor Collective sat side by side, their ancient animosities temporarily set aside in the face of what they had learned. Through the chamber's transparent walls, she could see the combined fleets holding position around Haven, their weapons powered down but their sensors active, studying, learning, adapting to the reality of humanity's true nature. Thomas stood at the center of the chamber, his bioengineered form projecting data directly into the quantum-enhanced space around him. The entropy wave's approach appeared as a massive visualization, its tendrils of reality-destroying energy reaching across intergalactic space. "We detected the wave 3,000 years ago," he explained, his voice carrying to every corner of the vast room. "Our scientists realized it wasn't just another cosmic phenomenon. It was entropy itself gaining consciousness, spreading across the universe, unmaking the very laws that allow life to exist." The assembled delegates watched in horror as the simulation showed entire galaxies going dark, their fundamental forces unraveling into chaos. Lyra's scientific mind struggled to process the scale of the threat. "This is why we withdrew," Thomas continued. "Not out of fear or arrogance, but because we needed time. Time to evolve beyond our limitations, time to develop technology that could fight back against the unmaking of reality itself." He gestured, and the Nexus appeared in the display. The massive device they had glimpsed earlier. But now Lyra could see its true complexity, layers upon layers of quantum machinery that operated on principles her people had barely begun to theorize about. "The Nexus is not complete," Thomas admitted. "It cannot be completed by humanity alone. We've taken our evolution as far as we can, but the wave requires something more. It requires diversity, the combined knowledge and unique perspectives of every spacefaring race." A precursor elder rose, his ancient form crackling with barely contained energy. "You speak of cooperation, yet you hid this threat from us for millennia. How can we trust that this is not another deception?" "Because they're right." The words came from Council Member Zhen, who had arrived with the Council fleet. "Our oldest records, the ones we keep hidden even from ourselves, speak of a shadow between the galaxies. We thought it was allegory. We were wrong." Lyra stepped forward, her markings pulsing with determination. "I've seen their proof. I've touched their technology. Everything humanity has done, their withdrawal, their evolution, their advances, it was all to prepare us for this moment." The chamber erupted in discussion, thousands of voices speaking in hundreds of languages. But Thomas raised his hand, and perfect silence fell. His bioluminescence had shifted to colors Lyra had never seen before, and when he spoke, his voice carried the weight of 3,000 years of purpose. "We offer you everything," he said simply. "All our knowledge, all our advancement, all our technology. Not as a gift, but as a foundation. Each of your species sees the universe differently. Each of you has evolved to understand reality in unique ways. The entropy wave cannot be fought with technology alone. It must be fought with consciousness itself, with the combined perception of all sentient life." He turned to the Nexus display. "This device is not a weapon in the traditional sense. It is a lens designed to focus the combined consciousness of every sentient species into a force that can rewrite the laws of reality themselves. But it will only work if we are truly united. Not through force or fear, but through understanding and choice." The precursor elder moved closer to the display, his ancient eyes studying the device's quantum architecture. "These patterns, they incorporate mathematical principles we thought lost eons ago." "Yes," Thomas nodded. "Just as they incorporate council theorems that haven't been discovered yet, and principles that other species won't develop for centuries to come. The Nexus is designed to be completed by all of us, together." Lyra watched as understanding dawned across the assembled faces. The humans hadn't been hiding. They had been building a foundation, preparing the galaxy for a threat so vast it required the combined effort of all intelligent life to confront. New data appeared in the display. The wave's acceleration was increasing. What had once been a threat measured in centuries was now approaching in decades. "We don't have 3,000 years to debate this," Thomas said quietly. "We don't even have 100. The wave has sensed us, sensed our combined potential. It's coming faster now, drawn to the very unity that might defeat it." Council Member Zhen floated forward. "How long?" 20 years, Thomas replied. "Perhaps less. We need to begin now. Every moment spent in conflict is a moment lost to preparation. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. 20 years to unite a galaxy that had known division for millions. 20 years to combine technologies that had evolved along completely different paths. 20 years to prepare for a battle that would determine the fate of all reality. Lyra looked at her crew, at the assembled delegates, at the human who had revealed a truth that changed everything. She thought of her violation of council orders, of the choice that had led her to this moment. "I propose," she said, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber, "that we begin with what brought us here. The mathematical signal that humanity used to test us. Let's decode it together, all of us. Let it be the first step in combining our knowledge." Thomas smiled, and the chamber's quantum field hummed with approval. The delegates began to move, forming spontaneous groups, sharing insights and observations. Ancient rivals found themselves working side by side, each contributing unique perspectives to the growing understanding. Outside, the combined fleets began to shift, taking up defensive positions around Haven. Not as separate forces, but as the first unified defense against a threat greater than their differences. The signal that had drawn Lyra across the galaxy pulsed once more through Haven's systems. But now she understood its true meaning. It wasn't just a test or a beacon, it was a promise. A promise that together, they could face even the unmaking of reality itself. The war for existence had begun, but they would fight it united. And somewhere in the void between galaxies, the wave of entropy sensed the change and accelerated, racing toward the one force that might finally stop its advance, the combined will of all sentient life.